Good evening. This is Critella with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, or tonight, we have Red-Rupee as the Space Marine, Techmarine. Oh, I lost him as the Techmarine. This guy, interesting commander. I think he's probably the least played Space Marine commander, and I think he's actually the most difficult to play in my opinion. Both the Apothecary and the Force Commander are pretty simple and straightforward. Some people have actually been saying that they think the Techmarine is the best. Might only be one person's opinion, or two. But he definitely has received some improvements in the Elite mod. And he is a force to be reckoned with. On the other side, we do have Stoned Elf Boy as the Commissar Lord. Commissar, some people think he's weak. I disagree. I think he's very good. Kind of a tanky melee hero, but not as tanky as most other tanky melee heroes, which is probably why people think he's weak. But I mean, it's just great to have with the composition of the Imperial Guard army. I think he complements them really well, just because you're always fighting off this huge range blob with the Imperial Guard, and then you have the Commissar just running in to tie you up. Basically, it takes a lot of focus fire to take out the Imperial Guard, and the Commissar really will stop you from focus firing sentinels or guardsmen just by tying up an important range unit, and it can often make it in just because your opponent is not focusing the Commissar. They're focusing the sentinel or the guardsman, and if they aren't focusing the Commissar, then they're just bleeding disproportionately compared to the guardsman and the sentinel and also the Chimera. At any rate, these players right here, Red-Rupee and Stoned Elf Boy, not really top tier players, but they are good, certainly better than me. I don't even know if this will be a good game, but hopefully it is. I think this is actually supposed to be some kind of tournament match from some tournament between Stoned Elf Boy. No, just some tournament. It's a tournament match, and it is between Stoned Elf Boy and Red-Rupee. Now, Red-Rupee actually decided not to note his power because he wanted to get a second tack squad out on the field. I actually think this is a pretty good decision, especially with the Techmarine against the Imperial Guard, because that will help out the Space Marines to focus down the Guardsmen, basically. Because if you try to focus down the Sentinel, it will get repaired. So you really need to focus down the Guardsmen as quickly as you can. It will also help to focus down the Commissar Lord. Basically, I think having the extra range damage output from the Tactical Marines is going to be really helpful from having a second one. These Tactical Marines, I think they're not quite in cover. Since this squad is low on health, Red-Rupee decides to use it for capping, which I think is a good play. Basically, he could just retreat this Tactical Marine squad because it needs to regenerate health, or he can use their 1.5 capping speed to get map control, which is the decision he's making, and it's a really good one too. I think it's really good to get a second tack squad in this matchup instead of a second scout squad. The scouts will usually just bleed very quickly. They won't really be able to fight the Imperial Guard range blob. And they won't do as much damage either, because the Tactical Marines, they do more than twice as much damage than the Scouts, just a little bit more than twice as much damage, and at least against piercing damage weapons like Guardsmen and the Sentinel, they are more than twice as durable, quite a bit more, possibly even almost 3 times as durable. They have more than twice as much health, and they have the damage. They get damage resistances because of their heavy armor against all of the piercing damage weapons that the Imperial Guard has right now, which includes, I think it includes the Heavy Bolter. It definitely includes the Guardsmen and the Sentinel. It'll even include these Catachans, but the Catachans are really annoying and really good. We do have a Heavy Bolter from Stoned Elf Boy. He's going a very heavy tier 1. We do have a nice flank from Red-Rupee, though. I've played Red-Rupee before, and to be honest, whenever I play Red-Rupee, I get really frustrated because he seems to be like a really smart player. It's like whatever I try to do, like he's always one step ahead of me. It's like I'll try to do something, and like suddenly he's force meleeing my suppression team with his Techmarine, and that wins him the entire engagement. And it's really annoying, but you know, props to him. Obviously, he's not the best player, but he seems really good to me whenever I play him. Not like a Tex or a Toilali, but a good player. Almost wipes the Commissar Lord. Probably would have wiped him if it weren't for the Sentinel, so good save by the Sentinel from Stoned Elf Boy. This is also, I think, a pretty good build against the Imperial Guard. He's got the Devastator Marines too. Well, it doesn't prevent the Sentinel from the approaching if the Sentinel is tricky about it, but it certainly makes creates an arc in which the Sentinel can't really approach, because if it gets too close to the Devastator, it will take a lot of damage, and the Devastator can actually threaten to wipe the Sentinel. Ooh, and we have some force melee from the Catachans. Take out 2 scout models. I was worried the entire scout squad might have gone down there. Luckily, scouts do have melee resistance. They've also been upgraded to shotguns, I think mainly just to deal with that Commissar. Again, the Commissar is annoying because he can kind of just run straight into your units, unless you're focusing him. But if you're focusing him, then you're getting focused down by the rest of the Imperial Guard army. And now Stoned Elf Boy also has these Catachans to disrupt. Stoned Elf Boy has quite a bit of map control. He basically has the entire center, although Red-Rupee is about to take this part back. Techmarine upgraded with Artificer armor. I feel like you only see that from people who are really dedicated Techmarine players, and Techmarine is not a common hero. And we have Artificer proximity mines over here, proximity mines over here. You see mines more in company of heroes, especially since every race, every faction in that game has access to, I think. Certainly the main factions have access to them, Wehrmacht and Americans. And it comes from a base unit, as opposed to, in this game, where very few races have mines, and then even for Space Marines, you can only get mines with the Techmarine. Commissar Lord will get focused down here and possibly even die. Probably not. Unfortunately, the problem with a ranged heavy build is that it's not good for wiping retreating units. This tactical marine blob does need to be split because it is about to get suppressed. Alright, 1 squad gets suppressed, and Red-Rupee is so smart that he does exactly what I said he needed to do in order to not lose that engagement. Because if both squads got suppressed just because they were blobbed up, basically they would have pretty much had to retreat. As it is, he split them up so he could have 1 squad get suppressed, the other one charge and force melee the heavy weapon team, and then he gets to keep both tacks on the field. So scouts upgraded to shotguns basically just to deal with the Commissar. And the Commissar is right in there. Melee tie-up. He can especially be dangerous if he gets the power sword, which he hasn't gotten. Stoned Elf Boy has no war gear. Red-Rupee just has the Artificer armor. You know, I guess for the Techmarine, it's not such a huge priority for him to get a weapon upgrade in this matchup, because, I mean, the bolters give him some damage increase, but not a whole lot, and they're more for their abilities, but I don't know if, certainly the Mastercrafted bolter would not be that important here, I think. At least in my opinion. I could be wrong. Someone can prove me wrong if they're smarter and if they play the Techmarine more. But for now, I'm going to just be the authority and say that it's not that important to get a weapon upgrade in this matchup until you have to deal with maybe either a Chimera or Ogrins, in which case you would want to get a Melt-A-Gun or a Plasma Gun, respectively. And the Melt-A-Gun has been upgraded in the Elite mod to make it a little bit stronger. And we just have more Artificer mines going down from the Techmarine. Some Company of Heroes style play. I think Red-Rupee also plays Company of Heroes, and more mines going down. Stoned Elf Boy does have a detector, though, so he can detect some of those mines. He's even using, like, mines to cover the flank of his Devastator squad. I wonder how much he plays Company of Heroes. We do have 2 improvised explosives. 1 goes down, or it goes off. We also have Assault Kit Stormtroopers from Stoned Elf Boy as his 6th unit. Meanwhile, we have the Librarian from Red-Rupee. Excuse me. And let's see. Stoned Elf Boy did not get the Power Sword, even though that could be a really good upgrade. He instead waited so he could get the Power Fist. And the Power Fist is probably better overall. Still going to be really good against the heavy infantry armor of the Space Marine just because it's heavy melee and has high base DPS. It actually would do more damage than the Power Sword. The Power Sword is just good because you can get it in Tier 1 and also has a really good ability. Lead by example. Techmarine right here. One of the great things about the Techmarine is that he's a stable source of range damage that does not bleed. So he doesn't lose his range damage or any requisition bleed. So it just stays at about 32 DPS. That's the starting. And we have that instant heavy bolter just getting close. We have a frag grenade though going down on the Devastator squad. Doesn't take out any models, but takes the squad down to about 40% health. Librarian, what is he doing? He's hitting a sentinel with a sword. It'll at a little bit of a risk here. Does not really want to fight the Commissar Lord, even though the Commissar Lord has more health. Look at how fast the Commissar Lord is. Getting stubbornness to make him tankier. And Red-Rupee is getting a Dreadnought. Right now, Stoned Elf Boy doesn't have a whole lot to do with that. He does have the Melt-A-Gun on his Catachan Devils. He also has he does have the Power Fist, but he does not want to send the Commissar in head-to-head against the Dreadnought, or he will just die, even though he will do damage to it. I guess what he will probably have to do is upgrade his... And here we go with Red-Rupee doing force melee on a heavy weapon team. Just what he likes to do, what he did against me the few times I've played him. And it doesn't do that much damage, but it can't... The heavy weapon team has to retreat, because it can't do anything. And this tac squad is in trouble, may get wiped. Wow, it does, from that improvised explosive. Good play. Apparently at some point, Red-Rupee had also lost his scout squad. So he is getting a new one, especially because he has this Dreadnought right here. He does need to support it. The Dreadnought, let's see if Red-Rupee upgrades it to the Assault Cannon. Yes, he is. The regular Fist Dreadnought is probably not that great against the Imperial Guard, while the Assault Cannon is very much. Devastator has quite a bit of range. And we do have that Assault Cannon already just pouring in some damage on those Catachans. Didn't get a chance to use its ability. And the ability on the Assault Cannon is actually really good. It can actually wipe squads if you are not careful. You do not want to get hit by that ability. And we do have a missile launcher upgraded on the Sentinel. So that's actually another source of AV that Stoned Elf Boy could get. But right now he's just shooting into line of sight blockers. And he also needs to switch to the frag missile. No, the crack missile. Unless he really wants to use this for anti-infantry right now. But I would think that he got that, at least in part, as a Dreadnought counter. And the Sentinel Missile Launcher does not do a whole lot of AV damage. But it is AV, and it can chase down. Because of the Sentinel's speed, it can chase down fleeing vehicles that are almost dead and kill them. So, I actually think the Sentinel Missile Launcher is a great choice. As good as the Sentinel is in Tier 1, the multi-laser that it has does not actually do that much damage. It's just the staying power, and it will do damage without bleeding. The only thing that will bleed are the guardsmen repairing it. But the Missile Launcher, the Grenade Launcher missiles, the Frag missiles do quite a bit of damage. We do also have this Las Cannon right here, the most powerful Las Cannon, the most powerful setup team Las Cannon. But I think, so Red-Rupee, he has his Librarian leading the charge, and there we go with that Assault Cannon barrage. Does really, really good. Stoned Elf Boy again. Now he's shooting at the Dreadnought, but he needs to switch to crack missiles. The Scout Squad right here, this time has no shotguns, but has a Sergeant. So it gives it a little more health, will make it a little more durable, less chance of it dying. Techmarine right here still only has the Artificer armor. Commissar Lord has both the Power Fist and Stubbornness. I think maybe the Commissar Lord could get the Flak Jacket. That would give him a little bit of a health boost just by having an armor. And would also allow him to execute, which I think should be able to one-shot scout models. And it could even do quite a bit of damage against both the Devastators and even the Tacs. Only one squad of Tacs now, which is kind of sad. Good to have two Tacs in this matchup. And these Tacs are level 2. They have not gotten any upgrades. I think it actually would be nice to turn them into Stern Guard veterans. Unfortunately, this Imperial Guard missile launcher, not that great against the Techmarine. He's better against bunched up infantry. And oh, this Imperial Guard squad nearly dead, getting a Commissar upgrade. Heavy weapon team right here, low on health, but has a Sergeant. And again, it has the highest rate of fire of all of the las cannons, so it does do the most damage. This Stormtrooper squad, I think he potentially could have wiped or at least gotten 1 or 2 models if he decided to do a skill shot with the assault cannon barrage, but he didn't do it. The Librarian right here has a new helmet. That's something that's been in the Elite mod. It's basically as long as I've been playing the Elite mod. And he certainly will beat a Guardsman squad in melee. He's kind of been running independently. Usually I think of the Librarian as more of a support unit, but he's been kind of just going solo. And the Scouts are going to lose models if they stay in any longer. I guess the main disadvantage of the missile launcher and the frag missiles is that the missiles can actually be dodged. But this Dreadnought is definitely in trouble. And he moved the Techmarine away. I think what he could have done, it would have been risky, but he could have force meleeed the las cannon with the Techmarine and then move in the Dreadnought behind around up here and then gone for an assault cannon barrage, maybe on the las cannon. We do have a flare going down, reducing the range on those Devastators. Look at how small the arc got. Now look at how big it is. Red-Rupee going to tier 3. Stone Elf Boy is almost there. Has quite a bit more power. I think he's going for a grenade on the heavy weapon team, but he needs to get his scouts out of there before they get wiped. Especially if they take those missiles. Yeah, those missiles could have wiped them. So, good dexterity by Red-Rupee. Stone Elf Boy deciding to get a Manticore instead of going to tier 3. So, a lot of Imperial Guard players will actually say, like, they'll either say that you don't need to go to tier 3 or that you maybe even shouldn't. And the Manticore is definitely a reason where if you have a choice between a Manticore or tier 3, you should probably buy a Manticore. Obviously, Manticore is a glass cannon, but it is an extremely good unit. I'd say, to be honest, as far as like what its damage potential is, I'd say it's better than any of the tier 3 units that that the Imperial Guard has. The main problem though is that it's very much a glass cannon, and you can lose it easily, and then that can be a lot of money just down the drain. Is that tac squad? Wow, it loses 2 models. I thought it might get wiped. Might still get wiped. Catachans, if they were in the retreat path of that tac squad, it would have gotten wiped. As it is, gets out of there with 30 health. Pretty big requisition bleed for Red-Rupee, but also pretty lucky to keep that tac squad. And I really think, I think even more now, he should get Stern Guard veterans on that tac squad. But I guess since he's tier 3, I was gonna say he might be going for Terminators, but instead he's going for a Predator. I guess if you are playing the Techmarine, you should go for vehicle plays, because you can support more vehicles than you would be able to with the other Space Marine commanders, unless you get a lot of scouts. But the Techmarine himself can support a lot of vehicles because he has because he can repair by himself. We have mines going down here. Stone Elf Boy is a big fan of those mines. I wonder if he has any other mines on the field. Let's see. I can't find any. I think he's just been using a lot of flares. The Librarian absolutely does not want to melee Catachan Devils. That is going to lose you Catachan Devils, and I wonder if he's going to lose his Librarian right here in retreat. Wow, he does. So he lost his Librarian and even almost lost the tac squad with those mines. So obviously Red-Rupee's not too happy about losing his Librarian, but now Stone Elf Boy is not too happy about having to deal with 2 vehicles. He does not quite have the AV to deal with that. Obviously he does have the las cannon, he does have the Sentinel, but it's still not good enough because both the Sentinel, both the Dreadnought and the Predator will just straight up beat the Sentinel, and certainly together they will as well. The main thing, so it's, I'd say, believe it or not, I would actually say that Red-Rupee has the advantage now, despite having not nearly as many units. The main thing Stone Elfboy is going for him is this Manticore, which if he can get, especially if he can get a las cannon to snare a vehicle, he can pretty much wipe the vehicle with the Manticore. So if he uses that combination, it's going to be good for him. Red-Rupee, meanwhile, has enough red for an orbital bombardment. I wonder if that's what he's going to use it for. Could have gotten Terminators, and Terminators are very, very good against the Imperial Guard, whether with flames or even with the assault cannon. Even just vanilla, they do like 100 range DPS, which is about as much health as a guardsman has. Grammar. The Commissar does not get the flak jacket. He gets the carapace armor instead. Looks like an HP buff about like 100, maybe 120, 150 or something. We do have another Manticore shot going down. I'm guessing, what will it hit? It does not kill any of these vehicles, but it is keeping the vehicles at fairly low health, which is actually going to be somewhat difficult for Red-Rupee to deal with, just because it's going to reduce the amount of time he can keep his vehicles in the fight, especially now that this las cannon is getting closer. Neither of the vehicles are in range of the las cannon, but Red-Rupee should know that the las cannon is there just by the fact that it is shooting. Orbital bombardment going down here. I don't think Stone Elfboy sees it. He does not see it, and it totally fucking misses. I think that was not a mistake by Red-Rupee. I think it was actually a problem with the game. There have been many times when I've heard that about the orbital bombardment just straight up mistargeting, unless Red-Rupee was trying to predict Stone Elfboy retreating or even just running back to avoid it. But either way, that's 500 red that did absolutely nothing, which is very sad. So unfortunately, right now this is not looking like a strong game for Red-Rupee. He even calls a GG. That OB didn't go where I wanted, yep. And it looks like this Dreadnought will go down. And Red-Rupee doesn't care, and that is the game. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.